Thanks a lot for joining us. I am here with Ted Thomas, America's Tax Lien and Deed Authority. Always good to see you, Ted. Hey, I've got a question. I got a question today I'm a little confused about. We've talked a lot about the real estate business and such, but I got a question here about REO Real Estate. Now, I Googled this on, REO Real Estate. What does it mean?
Well, it's an acronym, okay? As you know, I'm in the tax defaulted business, and that's what I specialize in. However, REO stands for real estate owned, and the problem is it's real estate owned by a bank, and that means the bank took it back in foreclosure. So you really don't want to brag about having an REO. So the bank, like Chase Bank and Wells Fargo and banks like that, they own a lot of these properties. When the market caves in, they foreclose on the property because they've got loans on the property. So these foreclosures, in some cases, they're foreclosing on the property for 80 or 90% of the value. So you don't want a property for 80 or 90% of the value, but people buy REOs from the bank. Sometimes the bank will make a list. They'll put a lot of those REOs on it, and people will want to buy them. So they're a headache, believe me, for the bank. The bank doesn't want them, and so they try to sell them, but they're trying to sell them for 70, 80, 90% of value. So I would never be in that business. And I would tell anyone that's watching me, you want to learn about tax defaulted property.
Wait a second, Ted. Wait, Ted. You're Mr. Foreclosure. You've got a little moniker, Mr. Foreclosure. So how do these REO foreclosures work? Are they sold through auctions? Can you explain, how it works?
What they have to do to get a property back on the East Coast of the United States, they use mortgages. On the West Coast, they use a deed of trust. But really what happens with a mortgage is the lender is trying to recover their collateral. They're trying to get the property back. So that collateral is coming back to them through a lawsuit. So that takes sometimes 6 months, a year, even 2 years to get the property back. Now what the bank wants to do is they want to sell that property, but they want to sell it for the loan that's on it. They don't want to sell it like we buy tax defaulted properties for 5-10 cents on the dollar with no mortgage. They're trying to get their mortgage money back. In other words, they lent money, the people didn't pay it. Now they've got the property back. They want to sell it and get their money. If they get their money, they're happy, but they're going to lose their proverbial, what do you call it? Assets.
Behind? Yeah, sure.
Assets.
So you're the authority on tax liens and tax deeds,
right?
Auctions. And so, can you explain that again? What's the difference? Just tell us what the difference is between a tax deed foreclosure and how it's different from an REO foreclosure.
Perfect question. Now, here's the way it works. So the bank would lend money to people to buy a house. That's what people want. They want to buy a house. They want to buy a commercial building. So the bank lends money. When they lend the money, they need collateral for the loan. The collateral is the building. All right. So if they lend the money and the people don't pay, let's say the people pass away, they got in a car accident. All right, they're gone. They can't pay. So then the bank has to foreclose and take the property back. Well, when they take it back, they're taking it back for the amount of the mortgage. So let's say the mortgage was $100,000 on $120,000. All right. So they maybe loaned 80%. All right. So you can go to that auction and bid, and you have to bid for at least the 80% that the bank owns. All right. Now, the difference between that and a tax auction, at a tax auction, what happens in all 3,000 counties in the United States, if people don't pay their tax, their property tax, now property tax is like 1 or 2% of the value. All right. 1% of the value is 1% of the value. All right. So if people don't pay that tax, the local treasurer and tax collector said, wait a minute, we're going to slap your hand. You can't do that. You have to pay your tax. If you don't pay your tax, they're going to come out and confiscate your property. They're going to push you off the property, and then they're going to take the property. Now, they don't want the property, so they're going to sell it. But wait a minute, what are they going to sell it for? They don't care that it had a high tax value. They don't care about the value. They're just going to sell it for the back taxes because they only want taxes. So here's your choice. Go to a bank REO auction or a foreclosure auction and pay 80, 90%, or come over here and buy tax defaulted property and buy those for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. Which do you choose?
That makes a lot of sense. I think that's why, that kind of foreclosed homes are good to buy. and why you
Yeah.
like those over the REO. It's either you're either paying the bank and the bank's trying to recover the cost of a house,
Right,
or
right,
the city with just the taxes that's owed on the house, you can have the whole house for.
right. All right, so bank-owned properties are not something you get excited about, but tax defaulted property are available in all 3,000 counties across the United States. All of them will have auction price. Now, I don't want to tell you these are brand new. These are not pristine properties. They're all painted beautiful. And walk in, someone's baking some cookies and all that. These are properties that are slightly used and abused. Some of them are actually junk. You don't want to buy the junk. Forget about that. All right. Some of the properties just need some paint, some touch up, and then they go right back into the market. But if you can buy one for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, and then you could sell it for 60 cents on the dollar, you'd be way under the market. You'd be really competitive. You could sell it quickly. So what if you make 30 or 40% on that property, and it didn't have any mortgage on it? They don't have any mortgages on it. When a tax auction takes place, the mortgage is wiped out. It's gone. It's wiped out. There's no mortgage on the property. How about that?
Well, that sounds excellent, Ted. And maybe you can tell the viewers here then, how do they go about buying a foreclosed home? And specifically what you're talking about, specifically a tax defaulted property, not an REO, but a tax defaulted property. How do they go about that process?
Okay. All right. Tax defaulted properties are always sold at auction. So every county, the county, whoever's watching me now, whatever county you're in, they're going to have tax defaulted auctions. All right. Now, if it's a county with a small population, they'll probably only have a couple of dozen or maybe 100 properties to sell once a year. But if it's a county with a big population, Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, million people, well, then you're going to have hundreds of properties that are going to come up for sale. All right. Anybody can go to this auction. You can find out about it at the county records. You can find about them in the newspaper. All right. Those properties are going to be sold with a starting bid of the back taxes, and there'll be no mortgage on the property or no deed of trust if you're in the West Coast. So anybody can go to that auction. You can find them on the county. You can find them in the newspaper. You can find them on the county website, or I even have an auction calendar to show you where to find them. So you can find them any one of those.
Well, I'll tell you what, if somebody wants to learn more about doing this, because it sounds like a great opportunity. I mean, it really does. Where should they start their education? What should be the next step they should take from right when they're done watching this video?
I would tell the people to go to tedthomas.com. They'll find out that they can come to one-day workshops that last all day. They can get auction calendar. They can get a free sample of an auction calendar if they want. Those are the easiest ways to get started. But anybody can do this. It's not that they're hiding the information. It's just that no one's telling people how to do it like we're doing now.
Is there something they can watch to give them a sense of what it's like at one of your classes, what they'll learn?
You know what? Let me see if Austin's got one. If Austin's got one there in the studio, he could just put up a little picture of one of the classes. We do classes every quarter. We have what we call a workshop. It lasts for 3 days, and they can come. I'll show you about a 30-second video on that right now.